time to do it, in my opinion, is when you're young. And I took a risk when I ran for Montgomery County Commissioner. My reward was having the successful election. But if I didn't do it, maybe later in life I look back on it and have regrets and think, I should have done this, I could have done that. I don't want to live a life where later I have regrets. So you only live once. I'm a man of faith, and I strongly believe you should make the most of life and cherish it, and you live life to the fullest. So I think we desperately need youth engaged in government. We need youth engaged in civics, whether it's the volunteer fire department or the church or the Masons or Knights of Columbus or the Lions Club. We need the youth engaged. And I speak to a lot of organizations like that, and I'm always the youngest person in the room, but I hope my platform inspires younger generations to get involved.
And they do need inspiration. And, you know, it's the one thing you left out that alludes to how boring you are is you didn't talk about healing when you're young. That's one of the reasons you get away with stuff, is healing when you're young.
Yeah, so, well, no, the way I look at it is when
what's the most dangerous thing you've ever done? Most risky, insane thing you've ever done?
I mean, this was definitely, running for this office was a risk. It's the highest elected office in the county. The odds are stacked against me. I was surprised myself when I pulled off the upset. But I wasn't afraid. And people couldn't wrap their minds around that. They said, Joe, what do you mean? You can't beat the party. It's too big of a county. You need $3 million. You can't do it. And I said, I don't think you understand. I'm not afraid of losing, because I know I'm not getting anywhere with the status quo, good old boys, the establishment, not getting anywhere that way. And I have nothing to lose. If I lose the race, I still have my family. That's most important to me, win or lose a race. And more people are going to know my name. I'm going to get better at public speaking. I'm going to get better at responding to people when they have a concern and following up with them. So the overall experience was positive. And when you're not afraid to lose, and you take the, even in my position now, I'm the minority commissioner on the board. I'm outnumbered 2-1. My job can get stressful often and aggravating, but I think of it as I have to think for myself. I have to make judgments based on what I feel is best, even though it may not be popular on the board. And it makes me a better leader. And in the long run, whether I hold another office or I go into business, whatever it may be, dealing with that stress, dealing with that aggravation only makes you tougher and a better person. So I think more people should try to have that outlook and not be afraid to get banged up.
If you weren't doing this, what would you be doing?
Probably would be in the real estate industry. Like I said, I have a degree in finance and real estate from Temple. I used to work for a home building corporation in their mortgage division, so I have a finance background. Like my job there, I enjoy construction and real estate, so probably would be somewhere in that field. But I got here quickly and quicker than I expected.
So what kind of, commercial realtor? Are we talking gold blazer, or what are we talking here?
What I was working for was a home builder that did residential. It was NVR, which Ryan Homes, a lot of the listeners are probably familiar with Ryan Homes, one of the largest home builders in the country. But I was in the mortgage department. They had their own mortgage company, and so I was more on the numbers end. But I like construction myself. I learned a lot from my father, who's very handy growing up, and I like doing home renovations and improving properties. So it's something I've had an interest for a long time in.
It's interesting because you could retire. You could do this and retire. I know I talked to the judge, and his plan was to retire at 40 and begin development. He wanted to develop properties and stuff, but he'd be 40, and that's still young. And with the changes in science, who knows how long you'll be able to live to in the next 20 years. You know? You could be a 200-year-old head in a jar that's ordering from Amazon,
Well, politically, I have a long shelf life because of my age. I'm 29 years old. 20 years from now, I'm 49 years old. That's still a young guy.
20 years from now, 49.
Yeah.
You're pushing 50. That 50's rough. I mean, 30's a little serious, too.
Yeah.
Aren't you feeling 30 just a little bit? It's a little different?
Hasn't really bothered me much. Hasn't set in. But the reality, and I'm sure that burns up a lot of people, Mark. I'm sure there's a lot of people that think, geez, this guy's young. He's ambitious in the sense that he works hard, but he doesn't give a damn as far as he's not out to please the people in office or the people that influence who's in office. He's his own guy, and he's young. So, God willing, I could be around for a while. And hopefully I build up a good name that has a good reputation, and the people in Montgomery County continue to be proud of it.
Well, see, youth can always outlast. They can always time is on their side.
Well, for example, there's party leaders, I call them swamp creatures. As President Trump says, drain the swamp. So these swamp creatures that in 20 years will no longer be relevant in the sense that their time has come and gone, and I'm in my prime as far as being youthful. And when you have that outlook, I'm the future of Montgomery County. I'm the future of conservatism. These guys screwed it all up, and men and women that are much more mature than me and much more experienced than me doesn't necessarily mean that they have the common sense that we need in government, the moral character we need in government. There's no age requirement for common sense.
Yeah.
And, in the future, they're not going to be around, and I will be. And I think that gives some people hope.
But see, what always messes up youth and energy historically has been defeated by age and treachery. And you cannot underestimate them.
Luckily, I won.
You can't underestimate them, It's like the old gator looks like it may move slow, but...
Well, what I try to do is I remind myself what drove me to run. I was driven to run because I was so disgusted with the status quo and the corrupt establishment in politics. So it would be easier for me to embrace the establishment and be one of the good old boys that goes along to get along. But I remembered the frustration I had as a regular citizen, and I don't want to distance myself from what I ran on. I want to embrace it and stay true to my word, and that's rare, but doing the best I possibly can to deliver on it.
I would imagine it's hard not to be seduced by stuff as you move up in power, because people, offering you things, and some just... I remember there was a state official I dealt with who wouldn't take anything. Mm-hmm. It's like this bottle of water. It had gotten so bad. And this was years ago, and that's just the way he was. But now it's almost that bad, where it's like, do you remember when you took a bottle of water at that radio station in 2018?
Oh, well, they love to be seduced with the campaign contributions, and they get wined and dined. And like I said, they become a puppet on a string.
See, that's why I couldn't do it. I would be easily seduced. It's like they would say, A-team van, you want to borrow it for a week? I go, oh, yes! And then they would say, they'd be like, so are you beholden to them with the A-team van, or something like that. I would get seduced, see.
No, I mean...
You gotta be a bit of a rock.
Yeah, you have to have conviction, and that's...
He went nuts over the A-team van over there. How old are you? 30. What's the difference? Come on, tell him. 30 is different than 29. See? It's different. It's different. It's lightning and lightning bug.
Getting old.
Yeah, and then you get up, and see, 30 is where you have to pay the tab on all the checks that your mouth wrote. They all come due when you're 30. And then 40, everything medically comes due.
Oh, boy.
You go in and they check you out and they say, oh, we'll just get you. And next thing you know, you're letting people do things to you that you would normally punch them. And you're giving them Copays.
Yeah.
Here, violation. Here's 20. And there's people standing in that room probably shouldn't even be in there.
Yeah.
And then 50, you sit yourself down and have a talk with yourself. And you say, first off, we're getting rid of all the T-shirts with what we think are poignant statements on them because they're ridiculous at this point.
Well, I remember when I announced that I was running, people were actually physically threatening me to get out of the race and telling me I'm going to ruin my life and you won't have any political career, you won't be able to find a job, all this nonsense. And, you feel the pressure and it's overwhelming because you're feeling so much negativity. And I remember one night I was feeling the stress and I said to my dad, I said, Dad, when you were 26, when the time I announced I was 25, I turned 26 during the process of it. I said, would you have ruined your life if you ran for county commissioner against the party, unendorsed? And he said, Joe, I wouldn't even know how to run for it. The fact that you're even a candidate for it is an accomplishment. No way in hell will it ruin your life. You're going to learn from this, and it's going to make you a better person and make you a stronger person. There's no downside to it. If you want to do it, and take that negative energy and use it to your advantage to work even harder. And I think that was good advice.
It's great advice because nobody kicks a dead dog. If they're that threatened by you, it's because you're threatening them.
Yeah, and I'll kick back.
Yeah, and that's good. And I think that either you win or they raise the bar and fight better, and the best man wins. And that's kind of what should happen instead of just the same people in office, because it seems to be like in many places. I'm not picking on any particular county, but it seems like that. Politics is almost a dynasty, not by blood, but by association.
Well, in the ideal political world, there's no contested primaries. The establishment controls the process, meaning one anointed person runs, everybody else is forbidden to run. It's a closed process, where my outtake is, if you want to run for office, that's what this country is about. You file petitions, you collect signatures to get your name on the ballot, and you run. A select few of people behind a closed door shouldn't handpick who runs. Let the people pick. And that's what I'm all about.
What's the process in a nutshell for somebody listening to you has decided there's some 14-year-old that's got aspirations and he's starting to buy suits and he wants to get a picture with 3 girls. He wants to run for office. How would you guide him? Well, what are the steps? Because like your father, I don't even know the...
Well, this is what I always tell the young people. They get brainwashed. These college Republicans and different youth organizations, the establishment swamp creatures come in and they brainwash them with, this is what you do. You join the Republican committee, you put up the yard signs, you do all the grunt work and put literature and door handles and go door to door, and you wait, and when we tell you it's your time, that's your time. Well, who are they to tell you when your time is? Well, I believe in the individual determining their future outcomes, not some other person. And basically they tell you, wait on the bench, and eventually you'll get your turn. And I've seen it far too often where these young people come in the system, they sit on the bench, and they wait their whole life away. And it's sad. They sit there desperately thinking, one day my big moment's going to come, and they wait their whole life away. And they become political hacks. They become people that live and breathe politics. I don't. I'm obviously involved with it, but family's important to me and other things. They live and breathe it, and they don't get anywhere in it. They're just looking for a little paycheck and think their big moment's going to come, and they wait their life away. And that's what I see. So to a young person that wants to get involved, learn the issues so you're well informed, and makes you it's easier for you to formulate your own vision for the future and your own platforms. But take risks. Don't listen to a party boss about waiting your turn to run for respective office. If you feel comfortable with it and you feel that you're ready, run.
But what's the guerrilla grassroots way they do it? What's like they have to? You said there's a petition. A petition. How many signatures do they?
So in my case, registered Republicans in Montgomery County had to sign my petition to have my name appear on the Republican primary ballot.
How many?
And you needed, I believe, 250. I think I had over 1,000, which was a shock to many because I didn't have the party behind me. So I didn't have all the committee people and the trolls and the hacks that I'm talking about out circulating petitions. I did it with, I was out in the snow. You do it in, it's usually done in February.
Were your parents doing it?
My parents did it a little bit. My brother did it a lot. A group of young guys. My family was behind me, and we went out, and a lot of people were excited to see that what I was giving them a choice against the establishment. Otherwise, they wouldn't have. and that I was willing to go against this establishment, shook them up and got them energized.
So if somebody wanted to do it, they have to register somewhere, they have to get the petition, they have to get the signatures, and then
you file